Hello, everyone. I am the White Angel, and I am a conservative. So, today I wanted to talk to you about this left wing belief that there are right wing tokens. Now, first, I'm going to address the idea of diversity of thought. The left says that, diversity and inclusion. We represent diversity and inclusion. We represent everybody. Yeah, the thing is, you claim to represent diversity and respect diversity, but you disrespect and disregard the most important form of diversity of all: diversity of thought. Diversity of fact or belief and opinion is absolutely critical to critical thought and the determination of truth. Truth is deterministic. You do not know it. You have to research it and find it. If you are relying on personal gnosis, you are playing a game of dice. You are flipping the coin. Your personal gnosis may be correct. Your personal gnosis may be incorrect. Suffice to say, it is not tokenism. It is not genuine tokenism when we talk about Dave Rubin or Andy No, who's not even right-wing, by the way, or Rachel Maddow, who's apparently trans. It is not genuine tokenism. You do not respect diversity of thought, therefore you do not respect truth. You respect a narrative that you've arbitrarily labeled the truth. Now, in regard to left-wing representation, the thing is, so-called left-wing representation, they only really represent you, whether you're a sexual, racial, or ethnic minority, so long as what you believe and what you think is in line with them. As soon as you disagree with their opinion or their position, that representation rapidly disappears. With friends like leftists, who needs enemies? I can say that openly as a bisexual man, that their, quote, representation is not representation. They're not representing you. They're representing themselves through you. You are a left-wing sock puppet. If you are on the left and gay or bisexual. They're just using you as a mouthpiece for what they want. Very true, very true. Suffice to say, it is a straw man that it is tokenism. If anything, it's the left wing who are the tokens. They just want to use you and your issues as a catapult for their position. They don't care about you. They care about themselves. They absolutely just care about themselves. They don't give a shit about you, not really. With friends like leftists, there really is no need for enemies. Now, the thing is, on the right, the conversation surrounding such individuals as Dave Rubin or Rachel Maddow, at least Dave Rubin, I didn't even realize he was gay until someone brought it up. Because on the right, we don't even talk about it. That's not even the conversation about Dave Rubin. The conversation about Dave Rubin is, oh, hey, look, he's the reasonable guy that brings the partisans on to talk to each other and have a reasonable discussion or interview or be like a debate moderator. And we get pissed off at him sometimes because he literally goes to everyone and be like, I agree with that. And then immediately turns to the other guy and says, I agree with that. He's too agreeable. That's the only thing I've ever heard about him. It's only any other person has heard about him. And how often do they actually talk about Rachel Maddow being trans? Only when the trans issue comes up. Otherwise, it's not even discussed, because we're not obsessed with race and sexual orientation and gender identity, unlike the left. Like, if I didn't know any better, I swear you were projecting yourself onto us. We are not like you. We are very, very different. My bisexuality is not an identity or an obsession. Only if you're left-wing, folks. Really only if you're left-wing. The right-wing position on bigotry, racism, and all of that, if not currently, at least should be that it is a violation of an individual's human and civil rights, and possibly a violation of their civic rights, their right to do what they ought to do. You ought to criticize the government, and if your right is not to criticize the government is not being permitted, it is being infringed, ladies and gentlemen, that is tyranny. And suffice to say, if you are being abused, then that is a violation of your human rights. Conservatives are all about your rights. They want to protect your rights. They are enshrined in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And if I keep saying the word rights, I'm going to get sick of it. But that is the case. We are talking about the rights of people to exist, to be recognized, to be legitimate. The only ones who are legitimately concerned with that are moderate right-wingers. The left does not actually care about you. They want you to think they care about you. They're the ones who are tokenizing you. It is all about whether or not you are a patriot. The modern right is all about patriotism and Western chauvinism. Do you love your country? Do you love the West? Do you want to preserve your culture and heritage? Then guess what? You're right-wing. You're a conservative. Excess progressivism, where they just change everything and everything and everything, making the system unstable, is not acceptable. Now, why do they believe in this idea of tokenism? What are some of the possibilities of why they think that's what it is? That when a gay or bisexual or trans conservative is hauled out and said, look, they're black, or they're trans, or they're blah, 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 blah. Why do you think that's a token? Well, if you're familiar at all with psychology, the psychological principle says that we do not see others for how they are, we see others for how we are. You project yourself onto others most of the time, unless another person's behavior is so wildly different from your own. 9 times out of 10, you are going to recognize yourself in the other person. So how do you leftists, how do you know that you're not the ones tokenizing and projecting that onto the right? What if it's really just about you wanting to look unbigoted by being diverse and inclusive? I rejected your way of thinking a long time ago. I don't need you representing me. Because at the end of the day, my personal reason for that is because I believe you're just using me. That you leftists are just using me to get what you want. On the right, I have respect, I have dignity, and I am treated like a human being. On the left, I am a token. You're the one using people and projecting that onto the right. That is one of the many possible reasons for why you believe in what you believe. Alternatively, it could simply be that you've simply built for yourselves an extremely convincing straw man. And the straw man argument is so good and so believable that you've all fallen for it because you're a bunch of naive people perpetually stuck in a state of adolescence in your mind. You are mentally 14 years old. Very naive, don't know anything about the way the world actually works. You live in a world of fantasy. You live in clown world. There are no tokens on the right. Sorry. That's what left-wingers do. We are not you. We are not obsessed with sexual orientation, race, or anything of that matter. We are all about culture and heritage. That is it. Conservatives are patriots who want to preserve Western civilization and American culture and to have successful economics and GDP growth. Those are our concerns. We are not worried about black people. We are not worried about race. We treat everybody the same. This is not the 1940s where conservatism was legitimately racist. This is 2021. Things have changed. The civil rights movement changed everything. You live in the past. We live in the present. You know what? Join us in 2021. It's great here. There are no slaves. There are no lynchings. Racism is at an all-time low in this country. It's wonderful in 2021. Please come and join us in the present. I think you'll like it here. Suffice to say, you have indeed built a straw man, or are otherwise projecting. Those are really the only two things I could come up with that could explain your view of the right. You know nothing about us. And to be honest, it is just sad. It is so sad. So yeah. Y'all leftists need to learn what the right wing is actually like, because you don't know a damn thing about us. Not really. Anyway, welcome to the Reformation.